How did Shehla Rashid, the fierce Modi critic, become a Modi fan? आपने कहीं बोला Kashmir is not Gaza. Why did you think of that parallel at all?
This NC, PDP combine, they had turned Kashmir into Gaza.
Did Shehla change? Did the facts change? Did Mr. Modi change? Who changed?
The situation in Kashmir changed.
Who are you hoping will form government?
I respect Umar Saab. I think he's the only gentleman in Kashmiri politics.
Let's take you back to JNU. Shehla Rashid, Kanhaiya, Kumar, Umar, Khalid. How do you look back at that evening that led to everything that happened subsequently? Shehla, you have said that the first time you were conscious of being a Muslim, because before that you used to identify as a Marxist, a Ambedkarite, a Kashmiri, but the first time you were conscious of being Muslim was the day Narendra Modi became Prime Minister for the first time in 2014. You were a ferocious critic of Mr. Modi. You looked at him through the lens of the Gujarat riots. You saw him as anti-Muslim, and you have used all manners of phrases for him, which I don't have to go into, but they're a matter of record.
Right.
How did that Shehla Rashid, who looked at Mr. Modi a certain way in 2014, in 2024 describe him to be a selfless leader? How did Shehla Rashid, the fierce Modi critic, become a Modi fan?
Thank you for the question, Barkha. So, first of all, I've made no secrets of it that I was an anti-Modi, anti-BJP activist and one of the most outspoken ones.
Correct.
And it's not just me. A lot of people were very upset over the Gujarat riots. However, as of 2018, 2022, the courts have repeatedly upheld the clean chit that was given to Prime Minister Modi in the Gujarat riots. So when somebody is exonerated by the judiciary or cleared or not convicted, not accused, then we have to also respect that. Now we, and I still refer to myself as, when I say we, I mean in the left progressive ecosystem.
Do you still identify as a leftist?
Absolutely, because they may not see me that way,
yes,
but that's how I see myself.
Okay.
So when I'm saying we, I mean the left progressive ecosystem. When one of us, when one of our activists or something is accused, then we will say ki he or she is innocent until proven guilty, right? So we have to hold our opponents to the same kind of standards. So for our opponents, we can't say guilty until proven innocent, and even after being proven innocent, they are guilty.
But let me ask you like this. Did Shehla change? Did the facts change? Did Mr. Modi change? Who changed?
The situation in Kashmir changed. I don't think I have changed. Even today, if you look at my endorsements of Mr. Modi, it is not on every single thing. It is only on those things which were my concerns.
What do you admire the most about him, and what do you continue to disagree with him on?
What I admire most is the steps that Prime Minister Modi took in Kashmir, which at that time we opposed with all our might, right?
Yeah.
No secrets about it. But there's results that they've yielded, and it's a utilitarian position, as I've repeatedly said. It has maximized the lives saved. Even PM Modi's bitterest critics today, they are forced to concede the point that the security situation in Kashmir has improved. There is no stone pelting. Youth are not losing their lives to stone pelting and then firing, and that whole cycle. I mean, you've reported so extensively on it. You remember how it was like what it was like at that time. 3 years of my college out of 4 years were just taken out. Yeah. We couldn't go to, our children couldn't go to schools. Businesses couldn't do, they just couldn't function because every other day there would be a hartal. Courts couldn't function because at that time you had something called a High Court Bar Association, which was, aligned with, I think it was officially aligned with the Hurriyat. And they used to give a call for hartal or whatever every Friday.
Yeah.
And because of that, people were denied justice. So, sometimes you need drastic steps, and I don't think anyone else could have done it.
Why do you call him selfless? आपने उनके बारे में कहा और अमित शाह के बारे में भी कहा कि ये selfless हैं दोनों.
Because they've taken so much attack from people like me, from my friends, for taking. So when you call something a bold step, why is it a bold step?
Because it's risky.
It's risky. It upsets people. But they've taken those bold steps. And I think now India has a strong national security stance, which all of us have had to align around, right? Like earlier, the things that used to be said, the things that used to be tolerated, they're not tolerated anymore. The red lines have changed. However, the net result of it is maximization of Kashmiri lives saved. So that is my utilitarian sort of yardstick.
I'll come to Kashmir in a little more detail, but आपने कहा कि आप हर चीज endorse नहीं करते about Mr. Modi. What is the one thing you continue to disagree with him on?
What is the one thing that I continue to disagree?
कि आपने कुछ देखा सुना?
Many things. For example, GST on wheelchairs. I'll just give you an example. That is one thing that I.
But that's a very policy example. Ideologically, how do you look at the BJP today? Or do you look at the BJP and Modi differently?
Of course, you have to look at BJP and Modi differently.
Why?
Because BJP is a political party. And the PM, it's a constitutional position. So he represents the state. He represents all of us, regardless of whether we voted for him or not. So that's one. But what I was trying to say is that, see, when we talk about BJP ideologically, if you want me to like programmatically engage with the BJP, there is a conversation unfolding throughout the world right now. And it's happening in North America, it's happening in Europe, it's happening in a lot of places. What is that conversation? That conversation is about political correctness, or what is sometimes called wokeness.
Yes.
And what we see is a lot of issues discussed on the right that the left tries to paper over or gloss over. And what does that result? That results in a lot of young people, finding themselves drawn to or swayed towards right-wing ideology. So for the first time, you've got far-right governments in Netherlands, in Italy, you've got Trump. Why is that? Because these conversations, now when I'm referring to it in the Indian context, right? These are difficult, uncomfortable conversations, awkward conversations. They'll make you, squirm in your seat. These are conversations, for example, about love jihad and, like conversions, or things like, things like orthodoxy in Islam, polygamy, and all of that. These are the things that the left does not have the capability to talk about because it upsets their Muslim supporters.
Do you believe in this thing called love jihad? I mean, do you agree with the nomenclature?
The nomenclature, I may not like it. There is a certain element of, what should I say? There is a grain of truth to it, which is why it sticks.
I think the grain of truth is that interfaith love is very rare in India, and that there is mostly a pressure on a woman in any religion to take the religion of a husband, just like there's pressure to take the name of a husband. So I see it more through a patriarchy lens.
Because you're not from a Muslim family. So those of us coming from a Muslim family, we know it, and we've known it all along. Like my second cousins, some of them, they married Christian women, someone has married a Hindu woman, whatever, no problem, like not much of a problem anyway. But if a Muslim woman, like I can't even dare to think that way, right? So
you can't think of dating, loving outside of Islam?
Yes. So there is a social familiar censure on it. Now, I'm not advocating for any particular thing, kisko kisse shaadi karni chahiye eventually under our constitution, because we don't live under Sharia, we live under a constitution. It's a personal decision.
Correct.
However, stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason, and they stick for a reason. Now, on the left, we say ki aap stereotype mat karo, don't stereotype. But on the right, there are these conversations. So if you've seen in the US context, Vivek Ramaswamy's, debates where he differentiates between LGBT and like queer rights and whatever. So he's having those conversations, and a lot of youth are getting attracted towards it. Now, for example, I'll give you one example. Okay, all of this is very contentious. It's not easy for me coming from a Muslim background and identifying very strongly with my community to acknowledge this. So I heard Home Minister Amit Shah at one of the news conclaves this year. So उनको किसी एंकर ने पूछा कि अच्छा आप बताइए, आप यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड की बात कर रहे हैं, राइट? एंड ही सेड दैट व्हेन वी हैव अ यूनिफॉर्म क्रिमिनल कोड, why not have a uniform civil code as well? I mean, he didn't say it in those exact terms.
Right.
He said it in a very roundabout way. He said कि if you want personal laws, अगर आपको शरिया ही चाहिए तो फिर शरिया हर चीज़ पे रखो. फिर अगर आप चोरी करोगे तो हाथ काट दिए जाएंगे. So Hindus have been living under a secular code ever since the Hindu Code Bill in 4 different legislations when it came 1950s 60s की मैं बात कर रही हूँ. So Hindus have been living under a secular code. So is it time for Muslims to also voluntarily reform and give up practices such as polygamy and all of that? Because when we don't reform, the government is forced to do it, and then we get all upset about it.
So, personally as a feminist, I would support a secular family law because I believe that the religious orthodoxies of all faiths actually work to the detriment of women.
Yeah.
And if there is a uniform civil code, there is talk about exempting tribal communities from it. There is talk, if you start, no draft has come, so we actually don't know what the central government has in mind.
Yeah, that's right.
But then if you look at Uttarakhand, there is opinion on live-in couples. That's not what secular family law is meant to do. Even now, in all faiths, there are traditions, so-called traditions that would change. So this isn't just going to change Islam. And I guess what I'm asking you is, today, do you identify as left of center, right of center, or do these labels now have no meaning for you?
If you talk in context of political parties, there's been a big churn.
Yeah.
And if you see Congress party, Rahul Gandhi especially, in his articulation, he is articulating a far left politics of redistribution.
Yeah.
The left is talking about liberal rights, for example, LGBT rights, freedom of expression, democratic rights, which are not classic leftist demands. These are liberal demands. And the right, the so-called right, which is the BJP, they are doing welfare. So my whole, what you can say, my ideology lies broadly in the welfare economics framework. And that is why I support what the government is doing, right? So this is something that I've said, for example, Ayushman Bharat, Jan Aushadhi Yojana. Now government has come up with this health cover for above 70 citizens. That's welfare economics. So I support that. And in fact, the right-wing supporters, the actual right-wing supporters of the government, they sometimes get upset over it. कि आप हमारे tax का पैसा welfare में use कर रहे हो, so you're making people lazy. So I think there is a redefinition of political categories needed, which we don't engage with enough. हमने बना लिया है,
वो labels बना दिए हैं, हाँ.
Congress center है, BJP right है. It's not like that. You have to look at the policies and articulation.
पर वो शैला रशीद जिसने 2014 में बोला था कि आज मैं पहली बार अपने आप को मुस्लिम महसूस कर रही हूँ क्योंकि मोदी जी प्रधानमंत्री बने हैं. आज उस शैला रशीद को ये बात चुपती है कि political representation of Muslims when it comes to the BJP is very poor. At one point you haven't had a Muslim member of parliament from the BJP in the Lok Sabha. And ये चर्चा चलती है. How do you look at it?
I would like to cite this lady called Amna Begum Ansari. She's a research scholar. I think I was listening to one of her podcasts, and Barkha, I really didn't have this perspective because I listened to her. She has a Pasmanda Muslim perspective.
Correct.
And it really opened my eyes when I heard it. She said कि देखो ये जो discourse है ना कि हमें power चाहिए, power में participation चाहिए, it's an Ashraf discourse. Because it is Ashrafs who have either had a share in the power or who have now been denied a share in the power. The bulk of the community doesn't even have education, doesn't have basic amenities, doesn't have graduates. The graduates ka percentage is 2.7% in our community. Only 1% of Indian Muslims are in higher education as per the 2022 survey. So power mein to aap these are, if you talk about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, power is very high up in the hierarchy of needs, which could cater to the upper caste Ashraf Muslims who always had a share in the power.
Yeah.
But the bulk of the community, we've never had any power. We are struggling for the basics. So I think this is a very upper caste perspective. अच्छा जो अभी तक हमारे MPs आए हैं उन्होंने कौन सा कमाल कर लिया है? मतलब the Sachar Committee report in 2006, it wasn't an indictment of the BJP. It was an indictment of the so-called secular parties which had been in power till then. तो उन्होंने क्या किया आज तक? So they've, you give someone a ministry. अच्छा मुझे ही ministry मिल जाए कल. What will I do for the community? That's what matters.
But you know, जैसे अब हम देख रहे हैं कि एक पॉलिटिक्स में शिफ्ट आ गया है. योगी आदित्यनाथ ने बात की कि जो कवर यात्रा निकलती है तो ईटरीज पे नाम होना चाहिए which easily identifies your religion. The Congress government in Himachal
has also come up with this.
Tried to ape it, then itna criticism hua that he was summoned to Delhi and he was told कि आप मत करिए. My question to you before I come to Kashmir is, do you have you identify with the welfare ideology or the welfare capitalism, as it were, if I could use that phrase of the Modi government. But do you have any disagreements with their politics on religious minorities?
See, local issues should be resolved locally. And this is something that I say both to the left and both to the right. हमारा क्या प्रॉब्लम हो गया है, मैं सुबह यहाँ पे आई आपके स्टूडियो पे, मैं चल रही हूँ, मैं एक हिंदू ड्राइवर के साथ आई, हिंदू गाय इज सर्विंग मी कॉफी, नो प्रॉब्लम, ठीक है. सो India is a country of 1.4 billion. But if you look at Twitter and if you look at a specific echo chamber of left-leaning people, you will see मतलब कत्ल-गारत हो रही है एकदम मुसलमानों की. So this isn't it's not a cliche, it's true. On social media, some incidents are exaggerated. Now something is happening in Kanpur, it should be resolved in Kanpur. We should not make national issues out of it. क्योंकि अगर आपको national issue बनाना है, and by the way, what I found out during this whole discourse was that it was a 2017 Akhilesh Yadav government directive और मुलायम सिंह यादव government directive कि eateries पे नाम होने चाहिए. तो हम भी तो ऐसे ही, हम भी कहीं पे जैसे ढाबे पे जाते हैं तो उस पे लिखा होता है जैन भोजनालय, क्या क्या लिखा होता है, वैष्णो ढाबा और मुस्लिम ढाबा, हलाल ढाबा, तो लिखा ही होता है. So it's not like such a big deal. But when we politicize, when we nationalize localized issues, that's when it becomes, the whole country gets polarized.
Okay. Before we lose ourselves in a Hindu-Muslim debate, let's talk about Jammu. Let's talk about Jammu and Kashmir.
Sure.
We are, as we speak to you, in the midst of a historic election. No matter which side of the debate you are on, it's a historic election. 10 साल में पहली बारी इलेक्शन हो रहा है. 370 की स्पेशल स्टेटस जाने के बाद पहली बारी चुनाव हो रहा है. आप उनमें से थी शाह फैसल के साथ. शाह फैसल was of course a much celebrated IAS topper from Kashmir. But then you and he briefly came together to form your own party. You were petitioners against the abrogation of 370 in the Supreme Court. In the middle of it all, you both had a change of heart. He is now back as an IAS officer and you have withdrawn your petition against 370 का abrogation.
Right.
आपके क्रिटिक्स कहते हैं कि शैला रशीद डर गई, शाह फैसल डर गया, इन्होंने सरकार के साथ डील कर दी, इनके खिलाफ भी स्क्रूटनी होती. बहुत से लीडर्स जैसे जो डिटेन हो गए, केसेस हो गए, they were scared that something similar would happen to them. How did you go from being a petitioner to withdrawing that petition and having a completely different politics on Jammu and Kashmir?
I was just trying to be authentic to myself.
When? Then or now?
When I withdrew the petition,
Okay.
I was just trying to be authentic to myself. क्योंकि अगर मैं अपनी personal life में, if I am enjoying the freedoms of abrogation and if I am enjoying the peace ushered in by the abrogation and political space में जाके मैं लोगों को वही सारी चीज़ें पुरानी बोल रही हूँ जिससे वो radicalize हो जाएं, I think that's being dishonest, which is what all of the politicians in Kashmir are doing right now. They know it really well that they've been able to go to villages to campaign जहाँ पे किसी mainstream politician का जाना मतलब जिनको छोटा पाकिस्तान बोला जाता था, जहाँ पे mainstream politician नहीं जा सकता था. ये enjoy कर रहे हैं freedom.
मतलब एक ज़माना होता था कि अनंतनाग को इस्लामाबाद बोला जाता था कश्मीर.
Yeah. And they could, in the interior most villages they've gone to campaign at night this time. They are enjoying the benefits of it, but they don't want to name it. So इनको क्योंकि इलेक्शन लड़ना है, अब मुझे तो इलेक्शन लड़ना नहीं है, so I can be more honest about it, So I was just trying to be more authentic about it.
But was there a tipping point? Do you remember that moment when you said to yourself, or you said to Shah Faesal, or you both sat and had a conversation, you said,
no,
we
we
were wrong.
didn't. It was separate. Like he did it separately.
Okay, but do you remember that moment when you said to yourself, I was wrong about this? वो क्या दिन था, वो क्या moment था, वो क्या realization था?
I mean, it was a process. It's not like I woke up suddenly one day on a whim or on an impulse and, went to the Supreme Court to withdraw my petition. No, it wasn't like that. So after the abrogation, a few things happened at least. तो पहले तो वो पूरा internet ban का वो depressing time था, वो सब रहा, ठीक है. Uske baad, like, I myself, I was depressed, I had an injury, I had some health issues.
And when you say you were depressed, you were clinically depressed?
I didn't, I was seeing a therapist at that time.
No, I'm just trying to be careful, accurate about the words I use. That's the only reason I asked you
I
not
was
to.
also taking medication for depression during the whole, pandemic year during 2020.
Sure.
And I just, for the first time, I got the luxury, I would call it a luxury, to just sit down and observe things. And, I'd been like a relentless activist. I had been like on the ground like 24/7 without a break for years. So for the first time, I got a chance to just sit down and read up on things. Because when we are doing activism, we are using information very selectively, right? We use information only through filter bubbles that comes to us. We don't actually read more extensively, right? So for example, on digital public infrastructure, what did I notice during COVID? COVID के दौरान जो है, cash was stigmatized. You couldn't hand cash to people. People were so paranoid at that time. लग रहा था cash से ही वो हो जाएगा कोरोना. तो उस time पे all the the hawkers, the street vendors, the rediwalas, how did they survive? They survived through UPI. Because we had UPI at that time. So तब तक मेरा stance on UPI was so extreme. I didn't even want to get the app because I was believing in some conspiracy theory that, this is Modi trying to get our data or whatever. But at that time, I started using it, right? And I am myself a germophobic. So I was like, okay, while this is great because like I don't want to swipe my card and whatever, right? So I was just trying to be more authentic about things. Okay, now you come to Kashmir. Kashmir में again during COVID, all like gym विम सब बंद हो गए थे because of COVID.
Yeah.
So हम लोग डल लेक पे जाते थे, हम लोग वॉक वगैरह करने जाते थे. वहाँ पे हम देखते थे लड़कियाँ मतलब वर्कआउट गियर में, जैसे आपको दिल्ली में दिखेंगे, वर्कआउट गियर में लड़कियाँ चल रही हैं. एंड माई सिस्टर एंड आई एंड सम फ्रेंड्स ऑफ आवर्स एंड वी वुड टॉक अमंगस्ट आवरसेल्व्स दैट दिस इज अ बिग चेंज. अब आपको लग रहा होगा इतना क्या बिग चेंज है, बट दैट्स एग्जैक्टली द पॉइंट. लाइक नाउ वी डोंट इवन रिमेंबर इट.
Yeah.
We don't remember what it was like. The moral policing, the shaming, like if you would just wear jeans, if you would just wear workout clothes, that whole thing changed. Like because of this 335A, 370, they were socially regressive.
Yeah.
And there was a visible change in how women could certainly like move about. I don't know, like it was like some psychological veil was lifted. So that's what it felt like. Acha, then again, पहले क्या होता था, वो जो KS एग्ज़ाम होता है, यानी कि JKPSC कंबाइंड सिविल सर्विस एग्ज़ाम, जैसे आपका IAS होता है इधर, वहाँ पे KS होता है. KS एग्ज़ाम जो है वो तो सालों तक होते ही नहीं थे, मतलब 2.5-3 साल तक होते नहीं थे, जैसे UPSC हर साल होता है. So for the first time I saw in a span of 2.5 years, 3 times the combined civil services examination was held, and it was like a really free and fair process. And I mean, I appeared in all 3 of them. I didn't like make it to the final thing. So I was just trying to be more authentic. So if the state is now filling up posts, doing transparent recruitments, without fear or favor, क्योंकि पहले क्या होता था, पहले there used to be a lot of the sifarish culture in Kashmir. Right. And for the first time, everything got digitized, everything became more transparent, everything became more fair. So because I was using all of these things, I was enjoying all of these freedoms. So I think I was just trying to be more authentic to myself. अब अगर मैं, like traditional politicians, इधर से कुछ और करूँगी, उधर से कुछ और बोलूँगी, लोगों को बोलूँगी हाँ नहीं जी ये तो बड़ा ख़राब है सिस्टम, बड़ा जुल्म हो रहा है. So like if right now you've covered Kashmir, let me ask you, did you see a disconnect between what people were saying and what politicians were saying?
No, absolutely. I think, in my opinion, 370 is now a thing of the past. And any politician who is saying to the people of Jammu and Kashmir कि हम आएंगे तो हम इसको वापस लाएंगे, वो या knowingly या unknowingly झूठ बोल रहे हैं, या mislead कर रहे हैं, या rhetorical conversation कर रहे हैं. लेकिन there are still questions, right? पहले अगर मैं पहले की शहला रशीद की बात करूं, तो आपकी sympathies कहाँ थी? जब 2010 की मैं बात करूं, I remember covering that. Umar Abdullah was chief minister. There were young boys dying on the streets because
110 in particular.
Because there were stone throwers clashing with security forces. More than 100 young men, boys actually, were killed at that time. So Jammu and Kashmir has seen a lot.
Yeah.
Where were your sympathies? Would you, because people looked at you, BJP would have looked at you कि BJP की जो base है, not BJP की जो base है, वो तो आपको separatist lens से देखती थी. वो आपको शायद ये जो phrase है टुकड़े टुकड़े gang of JNU वो आपके लिए use करती थी. क्या ये मानते हुए कि 370 has what Modi's 370 move has changed a lot for the good in Jammu and Kashmir, are there still things that disturb you? For example, the detention of mainstream leaders. For example, the debate around the media in the Kashmir Valley. Parties like the NC and PDP argue that there's been a weaponization of the simple granting of a passport. कि आज आप खिलाफ बोलें या 370 की बात करें तो आपको passport नहीं मिलेगा. You know, as someone who says you're still from the progressive left, do these things bother you?
You asked a very long question.
I know, sorry.
I'm going to answer it in parts.
Sorry.
Number one, my sympathies were always with the people of Kashmir, with the young people of Kashmir, especially.
Not with the separatists, because आप शायद पहले भी उनसे disagree कर चुकी हैं.
2008 में मैं अभी कॉलेज में ही थी, मेरे को भी कोई सोशल साइंस की भी समझ में नहीं थे. I was just in engineering college. I wrote वो reflections column आता था Greater Kashmir में. So I wrote a thing in that against the separatists, not knowing what kind of a social censure it would, attract. Not like I was very naive at that time. So I wrote a thing, ये क्या कर रहे हैं, ये क्यों लड़कों को बोल रहे हैं, ये क्यों बोल रहे हैं मुजफ्फराबाद मार्च करने के लिए, इनके पास कोई रोड मैप है, they'll get people killed. Okay, so my stance was that. Fast forward 10 years, 2018, when I came to Kashmir as a sort of like whom people were looking upon as, somebody who would join politics. So you can see there's a Greater Kashmir headline. In her first Kashmir debate, Shehla questions separatists. So I asked the same question again in 2018. Why are you asking people to come on the streets? Why are you asking, there's bloodshed happening? You don't have a roadmap. Why aren't you like changing strategy, or like why like this strategy of getting people killed? What it does, it only increases the anti-India sentiment. It doesn't do anything else. It's not going to bring Azadi. It hasn't in 10 years that I saw. And it only increases the anti-army, anti-India sentiment. So even in 2018, I was asking the same question. Fast forward to 2023, late 2023. Yeah. I'm praising Modi government for the exact same thing. That cycle of killings and violence and stone pelting and protests. Dekhiye, Barkha, our youth don't just belong in hospitals. They do not just belong in jails. They do not just belong in graveyards. Our youth belong in the top corporate houses of India. They belong in government, if that's what they would like to do. They belong in educational institutions. They belong in space science. They belong in art and culture, in the hubs of art and culture. I reject this kind of sentiment that the only good Kashmiri is a dead Kashmiri. Why shouldn't we be ambitious? Why shouldn't we ask for more for ourselves? क्योंकि ये लोग तो Z सिक्योरिटी में होते हैं, ये सारे पॉलिटिशियंस, इनकी तो मतलब Z++ से ऊपर सिक्योरिटी है सबकी. लेकिन जब ये रेडिकलाइज करते हैं बच्चों को, तब ये लोग ये नहीं समझते हैं कि उनके पास तो वो, they don't have that luxury.
आपने कहीं बोला कश्मीर is not Gaza. Why did you think of that parallel at all?
Because those are the parallels which are being drawn. If you saw the statement, अभी I think ईरान के लीडर का statement आया था, where he is,
clubbed the Muslims of India with Myanmar and Gaza, which is ridiculous. That was crazy. Which
is also a trivialization of what is happening in Gaza. And around the 2010s, you would remember this, there was a certain, there were these parallels drawn between the Palestinian Intifada and the stone pelters of Kashmir.
In fact, the image of the stone is a borrowed sort of visual expression from the Intifada, isn't it?
Right. So, I mean, you can say that it has historical roots in Kashmir and whatever, but around the 2010s, this parallel was drawn because armed insurgency and infiltration, those had taken a backseat. This was the sort of mainstream resistance at that point, stone pelters, young people, all of that. The politicians of Kashmir, this NC, PDP combined, they had turned Kashmir into Gaza. That's for sure. If you
You're
remember,
saying the NC and PDP have
Yes.
turned or had turned.
देखिए आज तो यूनियन
एक
टेरिटरी
मिनट, आपने एक बड़ी बात बोली है. आपने कहा नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑफ पीडीपी जैसे पार्टीज ने कश्मीर को गाजा बना दिया था.
बना दिया था. अगर आप
कैन यू एक्सप्लेन व्हाट यू मीन?
2010 में मुझे बताइए, आज तो यूनियन टेरिटरी है, आज पुलिस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन सेंटर के अंडर है, ठीक. 2010 में किसके अंडर थी? आई रेस्पेक्ट उमर साहब, आई थिंक ही इज द ओनली जेंटलमैन इन कश्मीरी पॉलिटिक्स. दैट अपार्ट, माई पर्सनल एडमिरेशन फॉर हिम अपार्ट, NC वॉज इन कंट्रोल ऑफ द पुलिस. तब किसने गोलियां चलवाई? तब उन्होंने ही चलवाई, ठीक है. 2016 में आ जाइए, उस टाइम पे चीफ मिनिस्टर महबूबा मुफ्ती थी, एंड यू रिमेंबर दैट इनफेमस प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस विद राजनाथ सिंह जी, वेयर शी इज आस्किंग द जर्नलिस्ट, जाओ जाके चाय पियो, डोंट आस्क मी टू मेनी क्वेश्चंस. These are the people who had made Kashmir into Gaza, and Prime Minister Modi, he has cleared this mess for us. He's done us a favor. अब देखिए अब क्या हो रहा है. ये जो मेन स्ट्रीम पॉलिटिशियंस हैं, they are competing to be seen as separatists just because असेंबली का इलेक्शन है. असेंबली भी क्या है? जो एक डाउनग्रेडेड असेंबली है. एक सिंपल डाउनग्रेडेड असेंबली इलेक्शन के लिए, जिसको ये खुद म्यूनसिपैलिटी बोल के बिरेट करते हैं, उसके लिए they are willing to radicalize an entire population all over again. Their rhetoric is like separatists, while the separatists, the Jamatis, they are dying to be seen as mainstream. They are saying हमने तो कभी boycott किया ही नहीं, हम तो हमेशा election की support में थे. So my fear is, आपको बहुत सारे लोग मिलेंगे कश्मीर में बोलते हुए, बहुत सारे आप वीडियो टेस्टिमोनियल्स भी एग्जिस्टिंग देख सकती हैं, जहाँ पे बुजुर्ग लोग बोल रहे हैं कि क्या है, ठीक है, चल तो रहा है गवर्नर रूल, चलने दो और 10 साल चलने दो. अच्छा, बिजनेसमैन हैव सेड दिस टू मी कि हमने तो अभी बिजनेस करना शुरू किया था, 30 साल बाद हमने अभी 4 साल बिजनेस किया था. अब यही सेम पार्टीज आएंगी, ये लोग फिर से मैस क्रिएट कर देंगी, बिकॉज दे आर सेल्फिश. For one assembly seat, for even one municipality seat, they will radicalize an entire population.
But you know how they say that democracy is imperfect, but it's still the best option we have, right? So ये तो बहुत लोग कहते हैं ना कि भाई हमें तो कोई भी नेता नहीं पसंद, ये तो सिंगापुर जैसे हम बन जाएं, चाइना जैसे ना. We don't really believe that,
No,
right?
for a reason. Democracy is a discredited concept for a reason, but particularly.
But it's still the best concept we have.
Sure, but in the
what is the better concept than democracy?
In the particular case of Kashmir, my contention is that.
Are you saying governor's rule is better than these elections?
I am saying the double speak has to end. The politicians, this double speak that they do. I lost the train of thoughts. I was just going to say something.
नहीं, आप वहाँ पे थे कि ये separatists, they are the agenda of the mainstream is separatist, and जो जमात है, engineer रशीद हैं, अफजल गुरु के भाई हैं, they are talking more within the framework of mainstream
I am saying
politics.
Democracy should not be used as a vehicle for the propagation of separatist ideas, because Barkha, that is what radicalized our entire generation. हम 2003 से PDP का rhetoric सुनते आ रहे हैं, human rights, human rights, human rights, and then they go and ally with BJP, मतलब जिनको उन्होंने उतना ज़्यादा ये कर दिया था, criticize कर दिया था. So don't give us this. Treat us better, treat us as adults. We can handle the truth. We've handled the truth in 2019 and with a lot of maturity. Achha, one thing, when the Prime Minister recently visited, during the election rally when he visited Kashmir, he gave credit to the people of Kashmir for keeping the peace. He didn't give credit to the, police or army or something. He gave credit to the people of Kashmir, because the people of Kashmir handled it very well. They knew that 370 is just a smokescreen. It's a shadow of its former self. It doesn't really give us any great federal autonomy or whatever. So the people of Kashmir actually handled it very well. These people who are coming now and saying, hum 370 वापस लाएंगे and the like, they are infantilizing the people of Kashmir. Treat us as adults. We can handle the truth. We know what the truth is. कश्मीरी बहुत politically aware है. Supreme Court ने strike down कर दिया. आप कहाँ से वापस लाओगे 370? Talk about municipal issues. अच्छा, I heard a couple of these, mainstream politicians. They were saying ये क्या है? ये तो जी municipal election है, क्योंकि ये तो prince और princesses हैं. इनको क्या है? इनके लिए ये बहुत, this is below their dignity. अच्छा, अगर municipal election है, talk about municipal issues. Why isn't one single Kashmiri party talking about dog bites? Dog bites से लोग नहीं मर रहे हैं. ठीक है, वो भी तो ह्यूमन राइट्स इशू है ना. Kashmiris are dying at the end of. आपने पूछा where are my sympathies? My sympathies are there with the people of Kashmir.
Why didn't you contest the elections?
I will contest when I age well enough, when I'm 50, 60 years
You think
of
politics
age,
is for old people? You think
retire.
politics is for old people?
I definitely don't think that politics is for people who don't come from dynasty, who don't come from money, who have no infrastructure. Like it's really, really difficult.
Which party would you contest from if you would?
I have no plans or sympathies as of now. Like I'm writing books and I'm doing some academic pursuits right now. Once I retire comfortably, after that I'll.
But 2 minute आज जो कश्मीर में हो रहा है, और मैं specifically कश्मीर कह रही हूँ, not Jammu and Kashmir, because this is particular to Kashmir. Jamaat, otherwise a banned group,
Yes.
has backed at least 10 candidates. Afzal Guru, parliament convict, hanged in Tihar, his brother is contesting. You have Engineer Rashid, now out on bail in a terror funding case, tying up with the Jamaat in a strategic alliance. ये क्या हो रहा है? आपकी समझ में ये क्या हो रहा है?
What has happened is that India is transitioning from becoming a soft state to what it would eventually like to be,
Which is?
like a hard state, which we can't call it right now a hard state. But India is certainly taking a clear stance on national security. अब बाकी हर चीज़ पे डिसएग्री कर लो. आप हिजाब बैन पे डिसएग्री, आपने पूछा कि आपका डिसएग्रीमेंट किस चीज़ से. फॉर एग्जांपल कर्नाटका में व्हेन द बीजेपी गवर्नमेंट डिड द हिजाब बैन, आई वाज अगेंस्ट इट. ठीक है, मेरा डिसएग्रीमेंट उस चीज़ पे हो सकता है, व्हील चेयर पे जीएसटी लग रहा है मेरा उस पे, बट ऑन नेशनल सिक्योरिटी there are clear red lines that are drawn. People are not given the leg room to anymore because people get radicalized with words.
Yeah.
So people have not been given the leg room now to talk about all those things which used to be said before. So India is taking a clear national security stance, which is bringing all these people to clarify their position, which is compelling these people to clarify their position. And that is what is happening, and all of us are aligning around it. Now, some people might say, they might dismiss national security as an illegitimate concern.
इन सब लोगों को बीजेपी प्रॉक्सीज बोल रही हैं, जो मेन स्ट्रीम पार्टीज हैं, वो जमात को, इंजीनियर रशीद को, इन सारे लोगों को बीजेपी प्रॉक्सीज बोल रही हैं. शायद आपको भी बोले, पर आप चुनाव में नहीं.
मुझे तो मैम, मैं आपको क्या बताऊं, जब मैं 2018 में जब अपने एंटी बीजेपी एक्टिविज्म के चरम पे थी, मैं उस टाइम पे मुझे बोला जाता था कि ये बीजेपी प्रॉक्सी है.
उस टाइम पे भी,
उस टाइम पीपल वुड कम.
Why?
Because that is the rumor they spread about you. If you are not from some dynasty, अगर आप डायनेस्टी से हो, you have full freedom to ally with the BJP. You can form government with them. You can be a minister in their government. Nobody will call you a BJP ally or a proxy.
Yeah.
But if you are a nobody like myself, like I didn't have any infrastructure, any support from anywhere, I didn't even know anybody in the state or administration. मतलब मैं अपने ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा अपने ज़िले के SSP को जानती थी. That's all. And I was being called a BJP proxy. The only two political parties which have been in government with the BJP, as a matter of fact, are NC and PDP. So who are the BJP allies? How much is spent on their security and accommodation? इनके पास, सबके पास Y security, Z security है. They are the BJP. अच्छा, मैं आपको एक बात बताऊँ, आज तो मैं BJP की A team हूँ, समझ लो. I will accept the charge. Like I'm not B team, C team. I am A team of BJP. लेकिन आप मुझे ये बताइए, any party which comes to power in J&K, they will have to work with the center.
Yeah.
नहीं तो आप केजरीवाल की तरह चिल्लाते रहेंगे, हमारे अंडर ये नहीं है, हमारे अंडर वो नहीं है. I would actually want, like if the NC does well in the elections, I would actually want them to ally. They will disagree with it. They will not like this categorization, obviously. But I would actually like them to ally with the BJP if the BJP does well in Jammu. Because we want benefits for our people. We don't want daily ka sardard, daily ka ranting, rona, कि ये नहीं है, ये तो हमारे अंडर नहीं है, वो तो हमारे अंडर नहीं है. गवर्न करो यार, बहुत सारे इश्यूज हैं. एम्प्लॉयमेंट का इशू है, ट्रांसपोर्ट, वाटर ट्रांसपोर्ट पे कुछ करो, वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट पे कुछ करो, हॉस्पिटल्स के इश्यूज हैं. मतलब देयर इज जस्ट सो मच. स्किल डेवलपमेंट पे कुछ करो. अलाई विद द सेंटर, गेट बेनिफिट्स फॉर आवर.
Who are you hoping will form government?
This is absolutely my personal opinion, disclaimer. I want like NC and BJP to form the government because I want government benefits to percolate to us. I don't want daily ka sardar.
When I asked Umar Abdullah कि आप पहले कर चुके हैं तो आप दोबारा भी कर सकते हैं for political survival, he said it would be the death of my politics if I tied up with a Modi-led BJP.
Not really, because if they are honest about it. अब अगर वो डबल स्पीक करेंगे तो फिर तो डेफिनेटली होगा. बट इफ दे जस्ट कम क्लीन टू द पीपल, इट्स लाइक वी कैन हैंडल द ट्रूथ. जस्ट टेल अस द ट्रूथ दैट भाई देखो, अगर हम लोग अलाई करेंगे, दे मे नॉट डू इट, बट दिस इज माई विश लिस्ट. आई नो अगर हम लोग कांग्रेस के साथ ally करेंगे, then the state benefits will not percolate to us. अगर हम लोग ally करेंगे, तो then the state benefits will percolate
So
to
you're
us.
saying the alliance should be with whoever's in power in the center.
That is how it has always been with Kashmir.
Yeah.
I mean, even before it was a union territory, the center pulled the strings in Kashmir, and like let's admit it, all the Kashmir politicians have always been on a tight leash from the center. So making a secret for आप लोगों को बेवकूफ बनाओगे, let that era be over. Let that era of double speak be over. But the best thing, if you ask me what the best thing is BJP has done, it has ended the double speak on many issues in Kashmir and in India also.
You spoke about nationalism and the transition from a soft to a hard state. Let's take you back to JNU. Let's take you back to Kanhaiya Kumar, Umar Khalid. You advocated for them. You fought for them.
Yeah.
Umar Khalid is still in jail. Kanhaiya Kumar is a Congress leader.
No, Umar was released then.
Us samay.
And then he was arrested
sorry.
again.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, but
Yes.
Yes. The allegation at that time that all of you together, if you look at that image of that time, so much, it's a movie. It's a movie script. These three young
There
people.
were a couple of movies and like an ill-fated web series made about it. Yeah.
But it genuinely is. You look at these three people,
Yeah.
Shehla Rashid, Kanhaiya Kumar, Umar Khalid, and the three different paths that life takes them in after what happened at JNU happened. Let's look back at that time. The allegation कि भारत के खिलाफ slogans raise हुए, कि टुकड़े टुकड़े slogans raise हुए, from which was born this TV phrase टुकड़े टुकड़े gang. How do you look back at that evening that led to everything that happened subsequently?
It was the most unfortunate thing that ever happened.
In what way?
In a way that we had the upper edge over the government. I'll tell you how. A couple of days back, a couple of weeks back, Smriti Irani ma'am, she did a podcast with Sushant Sinha. And usme she recalled this parliament march, not parliament march, MHRD march that we had done. She was the education minister, so we had marched. And we were very proudly, raising our demands. I didn't think of myself, मैं कश्मीरी हूँ, मैं ये हूँ, whatever, nothing doing. I'm a student's representative. I wasn't thinking in identity terms. And we were on the front foot, fighting the government on issues of fellowship.
Right.
अच्छा, आपने एक और चीज़ पूछी उस टाइम मुझे याद नहीं आई कि what are you against? For example, the Maulana Azad fellowships. BJP should restore those,
जो उन्होंने हटाई, हाँ.
जो उन्होंने हटाई, हाँ, वो भी एक point of disagreement है. So, sorry, I just digressed a little
No
bit.
problem. Huh.
So, at that time, when we were running that Occupy UGC movement, against scrapping of fellowships, we were on the front foot against the government. And that whole incident of those unfortunate whatever was said at that time, that put us on the back foot, that put us in a position of explaining ourselves. उसके बाद JNU में जो स्टूडेंट प्रोटेस्ट्स का कल्चर था, मतलब जो सीताराम येचुरी जी के टाइम से आपने देखे, वो अभी दृश्य आपने अभी देखे होंगे जब उनकी when he passed away, कि he was face to face with Indira Gandhi ji. That is exactly how we were face to face with Smriti Irani. It took us from there to a back foot, and that is what anarchists do. Their actions, it's a double-edged sword. Now you can say, Shehla, you also became famous because of that only, right? That also happened. We were catapulted to fame without any, sort of warning.
But there are two opinions on whether anti-India slogans were raised. Were they raised?
There were slogans raised.
Against India?
Not by JNU students.
Then by who?
By masked people.
Correct.
People who were wearing masks.
Today, do you think you know who they were?
No, I don't know who they were, but I know that they were not JNU students.
Okay.
However...
So it was not Kanhaiya,
oh, no,
not Umar, and not you?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. These were people who had come from outside,
right,
who raised those slogans. However, here what I would like to say is that even those slogans and whatever was raised, there were not more than 9 people over there, okay? But thanks to Z News and everybody who gave us that major media blitzkrieg, that huge platform, Eventually, when like Azadi slogans in the leftist sense of the terms, like when Kanhaiya was released and he raised those slogans, Berozgari se Azadi and everything, thanks to them, we had an audience of like, I don't know, 10 million or whatever at that time. And Kanhaiya Kumar was trending worldwide on Twitter.
Do you consider Kanhaiya a friend today?
He is a better friend than I am. He's better at keeping in touch than I am. So yeah, like he's been a good friend. Yeah.
Despite the fact that you've traveled in very different political directions.
I did campaign for him in Bihar actually when he contested 2019 Lok Sabha election. So I actually went twice for his campaign.
But not in 24 when he contested.
No, not in 24. No, not in 24. But I did send him my best wishes and everything.
And what do you feel about the kind of continued incarceration of Umar Khalid?
I just hope that he, gets out, and I just hope that people like him who are very talented and intelligent, their talents are mainstreamed and utilized, for the formation of this Viksit Bharat that we are talking about. For this, we need to be united. For this, we need to channel all of our energies into one direction. Like right now, India is moving forward with resolve. And we need all hands on deck. So I just feel that this polarization should end. This, इतना जो extreme हो गया, आपने थोड़ा सा भी कुछ government के against बोल दिया तो हो गया, आप militant हो गए, क्या हो गया. I don't know the details of his case.
Yeah.
I just hope that he comes out clean of whatever allegations are there. But I would say that we need to end. That is my whole project, that this polarization should end. We need to move forward together as a nation. Because Barkha, this can be exploited by anyone. पाकिस्तान तो कर ही रहा है एक्सप्लॉइट हमारे सोशल डिविजन्स कब से लेकिन देयर इज आल्सो चाइना देयर इज आल्सो लाइक मेनी अदर कंट्रीज who may not be happy about our rise, maybe some North American countries. So we need to be united. So I would call for like more unity on both sides.
You spoke about Azadi slogans being raised in a leftist context. And, there's Kamla Bhasin's rendition of Azadi. There's the Kanhaiya Kumar rendition of Azadi. There used to be Hum Kya Chahte Azadi separatist rallies in Kashmir Valley, which you don't see today.
Right.
What is Azadi to you today?
So I would use it in the same sense as Professor Amartya Sen uses it, that it is the capacity for personal development. That is what we need to provide for every Indian, every Kashmiri, every Muslim. So there should be enough opportunities for us to develop ourselves personally. There should be avenues, जैसे आप अभी sports में देख रहे हैं.
जी.
Sports में थोड़ा सा infrastructure मिल गया. You see where our kids have reached. Like it's such a matter of pride. And this is the kind of ecosystem that we need to develop for every Indian. And for that, if we need to make more efforts for education, we need to make more efforts.
Do you feel bad that JNU has become such a flashpoint? Just the word, you say JNU, and there are stereotypes associated with it. Even with, the finance minister, Nirmala Sitharaman being from there, Jai Shankar. I mean, there are so many JNU linkages to this government.
Yeah, even Professor Abhijit Banerjee, who's a Nobel winner, he's from JNU. It is unfortunate, it is unfortunate because it's one of the best universities, and the alleged actions of a few anarchists, they just tarnished this university forever, and the right wing did not lose a single chance to paint that as the stance of the entire university.
What would you want people to understand about JNU?
No, I've been in this role of defending JNU unwittingly since 2016, since the day it happened, because at that time I was, I was sort of the acting president. I never called myself that, but I was the acting president at that time. So it was my responsibility to defend JNU despite being a Kashmiri. So I had to keep my personal sentiments aside.
Yeah.
The whole deal was about Kashmir at the end of the day.
Yes,
so
ironically.
I was a Kashmiri. I had to keep my personal sentiments aside, and I had to understand, Shehla, you are an elected representative. 1,100 people may have voted for you, but you represent 8,000 people. That includes the ABVP, that includes the neutral people who never vote. That includes all the alumni of JNU. That includes everyone whose name is associated with JNU. So I had and I'm still bearing that burden of defending JNU. I would say, even today, that whatever those actions, whatever those slogans were raised, none of those slogans were raised by JNU students. And JNU is one of the best universities. It has produced like some of the best scholars throughout the world, who are like in like top positions throughout the world. And what I would say is that like more universal. I'm saying this like with a lot of risk. I'll be attacked for this or whatever. But I feel that we should have more centers of excellence such as JNU, because JNU mein, the one thing that differentiated JNU was that every poor child could study there. Every poor student could study there. This is not the luxury that people have. Everyone cannot go to big universities, private universities. So we need to have a publicly funded university in every district of this country if we have to compete with China and the US. Because you go to the US, there is a university in every street. You go to China, you see Tsinghua University, for example. जितना हमारा पूरा एजुकेशन का बजट है, उतना Tsinghua यूनिवर्सिटी का अकेले का साल का रिसर्च बजट है. तो हम compete किन के साथ करें ना, हमें विजन थोड़ा उस पे रखना पड़ेगा.
आपने कहा कि हिजाब बैन जब कर्नाटका में हुआ था, that was one of the things you disagreed with the BJP on. It was the BJP government when that happened. Hijab is a very polarizing issue even in the feminist discourse.
Is it though?
Huh?
Is it though?
It is, because अगर आप ईरान में देखें, so what women have been doing, for them, the defiance of the hijab is an assertion.
Right.
In other cultures, the wearing of the hijab is an assertion.
Yes.
And so I think your cultural context or your political context makes you look at the hijab differently. What does the hijab mean to you? Have you ever worn it?
Oh, yes, of course. I have worn the hijab. I used to be a namazi. I used to pray 6 times a day. I used to do tahajjud, and at twilight. So I have done all of that. And that was the year I was a topper. Like I was a state topper that year. Because जब आप ये सब कुछ करते हो ना, namaz, hijab, distractions apart, you're a very disciplined student at that time. मतलब between namaz, you are just like solving as many problems as you can. You actually become very efficient. There are no distractions. So my point is, I've experienced it myself. Obviously, I'm a Muslim, but it's not about that. It's about choice. अब मैं आपको बोलूँ नहीं, you cannot wear shirt, आपको कुर्ता ही पहनना है. You cannot wear jeans, आपको capris ही पहननी है. It doesn't work that way. Like we have to allow women. First of all, women के लिए ऐसे ही इतना difficult है education attain करना. Now you cannot add more
barriers,
hurdles at the finishing line. You can't do that. And for that, I would... By the way, it was not BJP as a whole. It was one state government. And I think they paid very dearly the price for it. It was a pretty daft... I don't know who came up with this idea. But no, you cannot control. In fact, if it were up to me, if I were the education minister or something, I would say just like, do away with uniform and discipline and
just
whatever.
Get girls to school, college.
Yeah. Like,
that should be the priority.
This whole uniform business, I don't hate it. That's
Why?
my personal opinion. I know it's very boring. People
but
should
it's an equalizer, na? It's meant to equalize classes. That was the idea of the uniform. That rich and poor should not be distinguished. They should be,
Yeah, sure. But I just feel that our focus is elsewhere. We miss the woods for the trees, basically. So, or the trees for the woods. Which one is it?
Why did you stop wearing the hijab?
Because I was getting too religious, too much into it. So I just went down like a rabbit hole, and I just realized that this is too much. But that's like a later conversation. Right. But what I was trying to say is that this whole business of uniform, it's missing the trees for the woods, because we need to focus on education, skills. You must have seen these videos on social media जहाँ पे वो Chinese बच्चे जो है ना वो दिखा रहे हैं किस तरह से वो basketball की practice कर रहे हैं and all that, how they are coordinating, what are the ways in which they are learning. मैं अभी एक video देख रही थी जिसमें वो चाइना में एक teacher है, how she is using 3D technology on the board to show chemical experiments to kids. मतलब all that is simulation is happening. She is doing this, वो chemical उसमें जा रहा है. That is how they are teaching kids. Focus on that, forget all this uniform and discipline and whatever. We need to focus on the real things.
Let's talk a little bit about, and I apologize if this is painful to talk about. You've effectively been raised by a single mother.
Being raised by a single mother has also given me a very different perspective on life.
Yeah.
So, for example, this whole sort of idea that we have now that males are providers.
Yeah.
And females are recipients. I just didn't grow up with it at all. And I never had this thing in mind that someday I'll marry some guy who will provide for me or, something. I always had this thing in mind that my life is my own and like I have to chart my own course. So, should I call it a blessing in disguise or whatever? I don't know. It has made me very independent. It has made me think of myself not as secondary. Because when you see a mother who's working, who's providing for you emotionally, financially, every other way, you don't think of yourself as like a second fiddle, playing as a second fiddle to somebody in a partnership or whatever. No, I think of the nation. I think of my community. I think of larger questions. I think of environment. Because I never learned like playing second fiddle to anybody. I see myself at that time, as a leader. Today, I see myself as, an academic, but like a public intellectual, someone who wants to make contributions to the public
Do you
sphere.
and she think similarly, or do you disagree?
She, as a parent, she does have concerns. Ki, like don't too much, zyada mat karo, ye, wo, whatever. As a parent, she has concerns.
Kam bolo, chup raho thoda.
Because no parent wants their children
the backlash.
to get into trouble.
Correct.
That's for sure. But having said that, she's never stopped me. And I think that's how parents should, allow their children to be whatever they want to be. Even allow them to fail. Agar acting में fail हो गए तो sports में हो सकता है अच्छा कर ले. अगर journalism में fail हो गए तो हो सकता है film making में अच्छा कर ले. So we have to allow our children to fail also.
Now you have a book that is coming out soon, and it's a book on role models drawn from within the Muslim community. And I know that we've agreed to have a separate conversation when the book comes out. But why this book? Why this book that's speaking about Muslim role models at a time when this is such a polarizing question, the place of India's Muslims, in जिसको Western media कहती है in Modi's India. मुझसे वो बोलते हैं कि
it's not just Modi's.
When you travel abroad and people will ask you this question, I have my own opinions, but I'll always say it's everybody's India. It's not any one person's India. So this is a media shorthand that I'm not a big fan of. But you know what I'm asking you. Why this book?
So I was trying to say that in the post 9/11 phase, in the post 9/11 world, there is a negative perception of Muslims. No secrets about it. We can try to, paper it over, but it's a fact. There's an anti-Muslim prejudice. There's profiling, like so many celebrities have talked about it, blah, 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 right? So there is an anti-Muslim prejudice. So what I've realized is that we always keep complaining about जैसे innocence of Muslims. एक movie आई थी. पूरा उस पे पूरी दुनिया में दंगे हो गए. मतलब कितनी जानें चली गई. YouTube बैन हो गया पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश में. We always just keep objecting. नहीं इसने हमको क्यों गलत दिखाया, इस फिल्म में क्यों हमको टेररिस्ट दिखाया, उस बुक में उसने क्यों लिखा. आप लिखो ना बुक, आप क्यों नहीं बना रहे हो मूवी. मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी ने क्या अजीम प्रेम जी पे कोई मूवी बनाई? मुझे पता अजीम प्रेम जी, ही इज आई थिंक द बिगेस्ट, इफ आई एम नॉट मिस्टेकन, बिगेस्ट फिलैंथ्रोपिस्ट इन इंडिया. मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी से मेरा सवाल है, आपने कभी मूवी बनाई? मेरा ये सवाल फिल्म इंडस्ट्री से भी है, मीडिया से भी है, ठीक है. लेकिन अगर वो नहीं बना रहे, आप करो ना. आपको कौन रोक रहा है? अगर कोई आपके खिलाफ किताब लिख रहा है, आप पॉजिटिव किताब लिखो, आप खुद लिखो. बिकॉज एन आंसर टू अ बुक शुड बी अ बुक, एन आंसर टू अ मूवी शुड बी अ मूवी. हम लोग क्या करते हैं? वी आर जस्ट पैसिवली सिटिंग. हम लोग कोई पॉजिटिव शोकेस नहीं करेंगे अपनी कम्युनिटी का. We'll always just keep complaining, अरे इसने कैसे मूवी बना दी हमारे ऊपर, अब हमें इसके ऊपर दंगे करने हैं. Then we are proving them right, we are kind of defeating the purpose of
self-perpetuating.
मतलब like somebody is saying that Muslims are violent, आप जाके उसको मार रहे हो, you are proving them right. Why not showcase a positive side of your community yourself? और मैंने तो मेरी किताब में 15 मुसलमान हैं who are at the top in various fields, but there are so many others. Like there is Ustad Zakir Hussain, who is the first Indian to win 3 Grammys in a single night.
Yeah.
Right? He's a Muslim. We are not talking about मुसलमानों ने कौन सी फिल्म उन पे बनाई. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He is considered a role model by all Indians. आप मानेंगे? Not by Muslims. हमारी कम्युनिटी में जो डिस्कशन, क्योंकि मैं कम्युनिटी से आती हूँ, मुझे पता है हमारी कम्युनिटी में क्या डिस्कशन. अरे नहीं वो तो एक्चुअली ना वो मुस्लिम नहीं थे, वो तो बुत परस्त थे, वो तो गीता वीता भी पढ़ते थे एंड ऑल दैट. दोज आर द डिस्कशंस. दैट इज द पॉवर्टी ऑफ सिविक डिस्कोर्स अमंग मुस्लिम्स. कि हम वी कैन नॉट टॉक अबाउट हिज साइंटिफिक अचीवमेंट्स, हिज कंट्रीब्यूशन टू SLV3. आप किसी मुसलमान से पूछ लो APJ Abdul Kalam और SLV3 का connection, they'll not know about it, that he was the project director of SLV3, right? They'll not know about it. We don't have the capability to talk about it. We'll just keep talking about, talk about their work. Achha, this is not a problem only among Indian Muslims. Pakistan mein, Professor Abdul Salam, Barkha, he's the first Muslim in the world to win a Nobel. अब चाहे वो अहमदी थे, कुछ आप इनको हिंदू ही बोल लो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, पाकिस्तानी नेशनल तो थे ना. You should have celebrated him. You as in Pakistan should have celebrated him. Jamaat-e-Islami at that time held protests at Quaid-e-Azam University. They did not allow him to attend his own felicitation ceremony. Pakistan cancelled his citizenship. So this is the problem in the Muslim community. We don't own our role models. We berate our role models because they'll talk about reform, or they will refuse to talk about polarizing topics. They will refuse to give in to victimhood. So there is a tendency.
But can I hold you there? Where is that balance between not slipping into victimhood, but calling out things that are wrong, right? So if a man is killed on the allegation of storing a certain kind of meat in his fridge, that's unacceptable. Or if an old man is attacked on a train, वही कि आप beef लेके घूम रहे हैं, these cannot be condoned.
We have to call it out, but
you have to call it out. Yeah.
We have to also ask ourselves, where is our social capital? हमारा social capital इतना कम क्यों है कि we don't even have like a few prominent voices to talk about it? क्योंकि पहले तो community ने उनको disown कर दिया है. पहले तो अरे नहीं इसकी तो बीवी हिंदू है, ये तो गीता पढ़ता है, ये तो so anyone who is an achiever will always have a pluralist outlook. Our community will disown them. That is why we don't have social capital. So we also have to ask ourselves, now why are Muslims only doing this cow wala business? छोड़ दो cow wala business. जैसे दलितों ने ऊना में एक स्टैंस लिया कि हम आज से डेड काउ का कैरकस नहीं उठाएंगे आफ्टर अ लिंचिंग, जब वहाँ पे लिंचिंग हुई थी. आप भी लो स्टैंस कि नहीं जी हमें बस स्पेस साइंस करना है, हमें हाईटेक करना है, हमें मेडिकल साइंस करना है, हमें इंजीनियरिंग.
We would be mistaken in thinking or in perpetuating the misconception that the state supports mob lynching. In fact, if anything, it takes away from state power. It is a sort of decentralization of state power. In fact, if you see Prime Minister Modi himself, he had called on more occasions than one these people who engage in mob lynching antisocial elements. And as far as I'm concerned, you're aware that I had run a campaign against mob lynching, and we were asking for a law against mob lynching. And if you see now the new law that has come in, the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, Section 103, subclause 2, actually talks about mob lynching, so that demand that there should be a law against mob lynching, that has been met.
So my point is this portrayal of Muslims as either victims or as villains. This has to change, because this makes us self-identify either as villains or as victims. And then the community sentiment also gets mobilized around that only. We are not victims, we are not villains, we are masters of our own destiny. We need to take charge of our own development.
And I'm really looking forward to reading the book. But in the end, let me ask you, have you met with Prime Minister Modi?
No, I haven't.
If you were to meet him, what is the one thing that you would really want to say to him?
I would present my book to him. I'd want him to read it.
I'm sure you'll get a chance to do that. And
Inshallah.
And what would you want to say to him? Like, अगर आप जैसे मिलते हैं ना किसी से, तो आप पहली चीज क्या बोलना चाहेंगे?
So I would like to request him to bring a constitutional amendment, amending Articles 14 and 15 of the Constitution to include the word disability. So I know that these articles, they say race, religion, creed, sex, etc. and the like. So etc. में disability तो हो जाता है, but I want like the word disability. Actually, this was my plan, that if I were to become, when I was in politics, if I were to become a member of parliament, because I wasn't planning to be on the treasury benches, I was planning to be in the opposition. So the first thing that I wanted to do on my agenda was to bring a private member's bill, and it would have been a constitutional amendment bill, to introduce the word disability into the Articles 14 and 15, equality and non-discrimination.
And you're still saying that you don't now see yourself in politics till you retire.
Yeah, I want to make some money, I want to work, and I want to grow old and then do politics. I think I was a precocious politician. I was too much in a hurry.
We wish you the best and
Thank
look forward to your book, and we'll have you back one sets out to talk about it, because
Thank you so much.
right now I'm forbidden from talking about the books, so we're
Okay.
talking only just a little bit about it.
Thank you so
Shehla
much.
Rashid, we wish you the very best.
Thank you
you
so
so
much.
much.